Live and good evening, everyone. Lisa Novak, how are you?
Good.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. Just we're going to have a little candid chat, aren't we? We're going to cover a few things, guys. So we're going to talk about the aftermath and what maybe the cleanup looks like after COVID, just what we're seeing, you know, our thoughts and our opinions. And then we're also going to talk about what it's like to work together. We get asked a lot. A lot of people say, what is it like to work with your husband? Do you guys fight? What happens? How do you juggle the house and work and kids and all of that? So we're going to cover it all with it. Why not? It's the long weekend. It's the end of a long weekend. Hope everyone's had a great long weekend as well. It's been nice, hasn't it?
Went to Katoomba.
Yeah. That was funny. I said, so every year we go to the Blue Mountains
every second year,
because I always grew up going up to the Blue Mountains to get Ugg boots, and it was sort of just something that we did as kids. So I wanted to carry on that tradition in our family. So I said to Mark yesterday, do you know what? Let's go to the Blue Mountains for the day. We'll get in the car. We'll take the kids. We'll go with some friends. Let's go up and get the Ugg boots. We'll have some lunch.
We got there nice and quick. Next thing you know, the place was right there. We're like, wow, we're already here. And then we turned up. It's on the side of the highway, if you know that place in Katoomba, just as you get in the Ugg boot place.
Yeah.
And then there was a 1 hour queue with some unique people.
Yes. Yes.
So that was, and then we decided to jump in the car and go get something to eat, and then there was queues again,
like everywhere.
Everywhere
we turned. So what did we do? We went through McDonald's drive-through because by then we were absolutely starving. Then it started pouring with rain, and then we're like, oh, stuff it, let's just go home and order Chinese.
That was Katoomba.
So that's what we did. So that was our nice relaxing day out. But it was beautiful. It's been nice. It's always a treat when we get to spend some extra time with our family.
It's like a triple treat, because I think coming out of what we've been the last 12 weeks, I think it's felt everyone's felt particularly good. Particularly fit.
Yeah. So, you know, in saying that, it's actually a nice way to start the show, because let's use Katoomba as an example. What's going on in terms of, you know, the economy, and are people out and about, and are they spending money? My God.
People are asking us this all the time.
Yeah.
Like, it's probably as real estate agents, it's the number one relevant question that we're getting asked every single day, all day, from all of our staff as well. So it's nuts. So we thought we'd have a chat tonight. We've got our audience there all built up. So let's get into it.
Yeah. So, I think yesterday, Mark, that really just reiterated exactly where we may be at in terms of is life getting back to normal, and what does that look like? In terms of the economy, look, those cafes yesterday were just jam-packed. I mean, people were out, they were happy to line up. Yeah. Some of those cafes were like, look, there's a 2-hour wait. People were standing in line waiting for 2 hours.
It wasn't like that last year.
No.
And this was like, everything is like busting at the seams at the moment.
Yeah.
Like cafe wise.
You can't get in anywhere. Everywhere. You know, there's waiting times everywhere. You only need just to go on to Deliveroo, and you've got to wait for longer than you would usually wait. And, you know, sure, these are first world problems, but the reality of it is things are actually starting to return back to normal a lot faster, I think, than anybody anticipated.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. It came back super, super strong. But
I
think a lot of people, there was the stuff in the media that there was pretty damning. You're saying property could come off 30% or 40%. Well, the stock market didn't.
No.
Why would property? Then there's other stuff saying, look, you know, the in September, when all the JobKeeper stuff is finishing, we're doomed. And I think it's just a really interesting thing to throw around with our audience. I love to get people's feedback on it.
100%.
What you guys think about it as well.
Now they're going to reel in childcare. So I heard that just got announced. So over the next couple of weeks, they're actually going to start to reel in that free childcare that was being given out as well. Yeah. So slowly they're going to start to just, you know, pull the reins back in again. It will be interesting to see what happens. But Mark, I've got to say, I'm surprised at how quickly property has recovered.
I'm surprised
I'm shocked.
I'm surprised how much of a chip it didn't get. I thought it would have been, you know, worsely affected than what it was. And the stock market even seems like it was like when the stock market was happening, it was like, here we go.
Yeah.
And anyone I know who's in the stock market say, no, we're back.
Yeah, no, it's been really interesting. I mean, it's been, there was no doubt in terms of property, things were put on hold for a little while, and you can understand why. And people were nervous. We were nervous about what was actually going to happen with everything, and certainly property was the pause button was put on people purchasing property. But I just feel like everyone's come back out of the woodwork again. It's been extremely busy.
Brokers are busy. I spent when we went to the Blue Mountains, one of the Mark Conway was in the car with us in the Novak Landjet and in my van. And he was saying business, like every time I'm talking to a mortgage broker is saying, I'm really busy. Amal's husband, Gudev, was saying he's very busy. So the brokers are busy. Interest rates are low. The property market in the worst part of the last 12 weeks held its head high.
Yeah.
Stock market has, recovered and held its head high. Hospitals proved to be not overrun and controlled beautifully.
Yes.
The government put on a fabulous show.
Yeah, without a doubt.
The government put on a great show.
Without a doubt.
We've been tested, guys. We have been tested, and I'm not saying we're out of it, but I'm saying we're strong. Like, I think property, all our indicators were strong through the most, through awful times.
Yeah. I think where what's taken the biggest hit, we've got a lot of friends actually that are in hospitality. So with the pubs and, a lot of the bars, they're the ones that seem to be the biggest hit out of everybody.
Okay,
they haven't yet rolled that out.
We've just been positive real estate agents, and Rosie talked about really, really good stuff. Let's be real. You're right.
So they're definitely hurting again. We've got some friends that are involved in pubs and bars, and they've without a doubt been hammered. I believe that you can now go to pubs and bars, but you can't stand. So you can only sit. You've got to order food. That's my understanding. So I don't really think, it doesn't seem to have the same feel that it would usually have. And I also noticed that a lot more people seemed to be just eating out in restaurants if you could get in because they're really busy, or just hung out at home.
Yeah, but you know what, Lise, and I'd love to see people's feedback on this in the audience, but we're all saying that the jobs, there's parts of the market which are terrible.
Yeah.
But they were all crafted that way. So they were all, it's not like, oh my God, the stock market's terrible, I don't know why this is happening. This was all manufactured. So the whole fundamental reason that hospitality has been put on their knees is because it was a decision by government to put them on their knees to protect the community.
Yeah.
It's as simple as when the government decides to turn the tap on, and it's very, very obvious. We've proven ourselves in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
If you turn the tap on halfway, half the water comes out. If you turn it on 3/4, three-quarters of the water is going to come out. So I'm really confident that the economy and property market and everything is going to get strong as the government turns that tap on further and further.
So is it just going to go back to normal? Because people clearly are not concerned about being in a bar or being in a restaurant with hundreds and hundreds of people. Because if you just look at the protests,
clearly,
if you just look at those protests and that have gone on, in
60,000 people happy to walk out.
60,000 people were happy to
not social distance.
Yeah, and I don't know if that was, I noted obviously that people had masks and obviously everyone's got their opinions as to why they were there, but it did not seem to be top of mind.
Okay, so how does this relate back to our property market? In my opinion, those fundamentals are all going back to, guys and girls, when the government decides to turn the tap on, turn it off.
Yeah,
we go into a recession. When they decide to turn it on halfway, we go to capacity. You could see all those cafes went to capacity.
Yeah.
When they turn it on 3/4 of the way, I reckon we're going to be at capacity again.
Yeah.
We're coming into, and I've said it before, we're coming into the golden quarter for hospitality and entertainment.
Yep.
You know what I love about all this? We're different people. I think I think we understand what essential is much more as
very respectful of all of that, definitely.
As a community.
Yes.
So I think that Australian domestic travel, I think Australian domestic spending, I think everyone's really conscious about keeping their money in Oz, protecting Oz.
Well, Katoomba yesterday was verification of that. Because I just wonder, and we had this conversation yesterday, I just wonder if you were able to travel a lot more freely, whether or not those areas would have been so busy.
Yep.
I'll bet they wouldn't have been, because people would have been jumping on planes going to the Gold Coast or going to Melbourne. It's really hard at the moment to still get on a flight.
I think it's so good.
Yeah, I do too. It's phenomenal. I think these guys need it, right? We've gone through hell between bushfires and floods, and they really need it.
I don't know. I'm always an optimist, but I can't help to think that see the silver lining out of this with Australian country towns and stuff like that. I reckon they're going to really have a raging time the next 12 months.
Yeah,
maybe 24 months. Like I'm really keen to go to Uluru.
Yeah. Well, we never thought,
we're going to go to Uluru.
We weren't the sort of people that would travel a lot within Australia.
Yeah.
I guess, maybe because we've never really felt like we were away. I think that's more what it was about. But now we're looking at, we're planning a trip at the end of the year. We're it's going to be a big road trip.
Tasmania.
Yeah. So we're going to do a Tasmanian road trip. And, we never would have planned this sort of stuff in Australia. We always needed to feel like we needed to be far, far away to have a real rest.
A break,
So, it's going to be interesting. But Anmol's also just made a good point. Thanks, Anmol, that the banks, right, they're so busy. Are they under-resourced or are they just really, really busy? I think it's a little bit of both. But that's been really interesting. I agree. So any properties that I've been putting under contract for 5 days is just simply not long enough because the backlog at these banks has been so long and so dubious. They seem to be very, very busy. We know that. Mark Conway, a friend of ours, as Mark mentioned, he's a mortgage broker. He's getting smashed at the moment.
What are some negative stuff? Give me some negatives, people. Where's the pessimist? Where's Mr. Russo?
Yeah, I think the pessimists will still believe that property is going to come off. I don't know. There's certainly no indications of that. The only thing that I can see that could change over the next few months is that more property will be coming to market, but that's inevitable. But I also believe that more buyers will be coming to market as well. So that's going to be interesting.
Last year, like what are the fundamental things? If you deleted COVID, as in it is over, it is finished, and you look at the residual after that, the aftermath after that, I think that there's been a mind shift in people. I think they have a different respect for stuff
and tolerance.
And I still think that the basic principles of what people had in 2019 is still there. I think people still value, everything just as important. There's different things. I think they will, if it's people looking at stuff that's more essential, do I really need that? Or, dunny paper. But it's really interesting. I just can't help that in 2020, going into 2020, and I know it's 6 months away still, but I can't see after we come 2021, I still can't see why.
We're going to do 2020 again.
Let's just delete this year and just call it 2020 again next year. I just can't see why we can't. Look, the reality is, guys, there's a lot more debt that we've taken on. So we've gone from, I don't know, was it 50 billion debt to 500 billion debt, 400 billion debt as a country, which I think to be at the zero debt or 50 billion debt that we're at was extraordinarily low compared to other countries.
Yes.
So I'm not intimidated by that $500 billion. But I just can't help to see why we can't go back to good old fashioned what we've done the last 3 years, 5 years, 10 years.
But if we look at the businesses that have wound back in over the last couple of weeks, I dare say that none of those businesses have been suffering greatly. So I walked in to get my nails done, which was a massive treat the other day. And, there was a line out the door. These guys, sure, they had to shut shop for 8 weeks, but there was a line out the door of the nail salon. I've never seen that before. The same thing with the cafes, people are lining up to get into the cafes.
Yeah.
So, it's these businesses that have been really hurt over the last 8 weeks seem to be extremely busy very quickly.
Can I say something which may be taken the wrong way by people?
Oh God, here we go.
I spoke to 8.
I'm going to drink my hot chocolate.
I did a little exercise last week, and it was about 10 business owners locally that I spoke with.
Yeah.
They're people that I do business with frequently. I asked them the question, and the question was, have you had anyone walk into your business and ask you for a job? That was my question.
Yeah.
And they went, what do you mean? I said, you've had people walk into your business, knock on the door and say, can I have a job? He said, this is, yes. Well, they said, well, they're all here. Yes. Did you have that happen? No. I said, what do you mean? Hang on. The last 12, and I said, you know what? Same thing with me. The last 12 weeks, my door has not been beaten down with people seeking employment. We employ 40 to 50 staff. We've got the capacity to employ more. We're actually looking, but randoms walking off the street looking for a job. I spoke to 8 to 10 different business owners last week, and they all said no.
Yeah.
So I reckon the people that are affected, and Jesus, there are people that are affected.
Yeah.
But I reckon when the government decides to turn the tap back on, they're good. The question is, can they get through that period? And there's so much support there from our friends in government. They've done such a wonderful job. I can't see why not.
Yeah.
Let's talk about.
But there are a lot of for lease signs. I just want to say that there are a lot of for lease signs in these commercial premises, and for those
retail's
people,
been hammered. Yeah,
absolutely hammered. And you know what? There's opportunity there, however, for those people that have actually done really well. And I've spoken to a number of people over the last couple of days that said, I've actually been scared to gloat about it, but our business has done really, really well. I've got a girlfriend who's in digital media, and she said, Lisa, I've been flat out. She said, I've actually employed 3 full-time staff. And she said, I'll be looking for premises. So, you know, she's done really well. Obviously, it's not been the right opportunity to gloat about that sort of stuff. She's not that sort of person anyway. But there are people that have actually done really well at this time.
Well, look, we're salesperson. We're salespeople. We're always optimists. We're always going to tell you the good stuff of what we see. But I've tried to be very factual in the things that we've spoken about.
Yeah.
And I honestly, hand on my heart, do feel like it's going to be a good comeback.
I think it's going to be.
Not going to be raging.
I think it's going to be okay.
It's going to be.
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be okay. We're going to get back to where we were before COVID.
Back to normal.
Because things were good. You reckon back to normal? Mark's calling
coming.
it. Hey, this is Mark's opinion, by the way, guys.
Back to normal's coming. It may be 12 months, 6 months, or 18 months. I don't know. But back to normal is coming. It's going to be hard.
What about the shops? Hey, just before we get on to what it's like to work with me.
Yeah.
And what it's like to work with you. The shops, like we had some people that were telling us the other day that these guys are doing what they would usually do just before Christmas. That's the figures that they were doing.
I heard that a lot.
Apparently Westfield's Warringah Mall is chaos.
Yeah, bread.
Right?
Lots of stuff. Yep.
Yeah, interesting, really interesting.
Yep.
So let's get on to working together. Second topic.
Working with Lisa.
Hey, Rosie.
Working with Lisa.
Hey, Michael.
Novak.
My cousin's watching. Hey, Amol. Saying hi to a few people. Rebecca, Paul. Hey, guys. Hope everyone's had an awesome long weekend. So tonight, for those of you guys that have just tuned in, we're just talking about the aftermath, what after COVID looks like, what it is looking like, because we're now starting to live it. Hopefully we don't get the second bout of COVID coming through just after all of those protests and all those people being together. We've had some time
to get some equipment and stuff and people ready for it.
Well, we know what we're dealing with. At least we know now what we're dealing with.
Ventilators and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
What's it like to work with? What's it like to what do you hate about working with your husband?
It's like it's so not a big deal. It's funny because a lot of people.
Say it though. I'll say it.
100% I will.
I'll say it.
No, 100% I would say it.
I fall asleep when I go out with friends.
Sometimes I think he's got narcolepsy. Sometimes
I often will just I'll go to a friend's house. 9:30.
Yeah, but that's just old age. That's got nothing to do with us working together.
I'll hit their couch.
Yeah, but that's got nothing to do with us working together. I just want to say that has nothing. That's just Mark. Like I don't know what happened. He's just getting old. At 43 years of age, he's getting old. No, but working together, what is it like? You know, I'll tell you.
I'm the boss. You just.
No, okay, all right.
It's respect.
Okay.
My way.
He's a Leo, so we'll let him win. I know how this works.
Yeah.
So
working with your spouse. Rosie works with John.
Rosie works with John. You know, the thing is, here's what I know. My parents worked together really, really successfully their whole working career. And when a husband and wife team can work together and it works really well,
the man's the boss.
It actually is a magical combination. That's the reality of it. And now a fun fact is Mark and I have never, ever had an argument over work.
That's so boring.
It's true. We're going to have one now.
Yeah.
But we haven't. We've never.
The wife just has to listen to the husband, you know?
Yeah.
It just works.
Yes, Mark. No, but it's, you know what? It's actually great. We, Mark's strengths are my weaknesses and my strengths are Mark's weaknesses.
Yeah.
So we actually do bounce off each other quite nicely in that capacity. So Mark is a real crazy scientist, and Mark can
you support my habit
and won't take no for an answer. So if Mark says to someone at work, you know, we want to hang a TV over there on that wall, and someone turns around and says no,
it's impossible.
Mark will take that as the world's biggest challenge and make sure that whatever it is gets done. Yeah. So no is non-existent in Mark's vocabulary. Yeah. It's just find another way.
Yeah.
So that part is phenomenal. Like, you're extremely, extremely resilient like that. And you're a crazy, crazy dreamer. So like Mark will think something up and I'll be like, oh my God, like how the hell he's going to do this, and this is going to drive me nuts, and he's going to do it, and he will do it. And I'll think, how the hell did he execute that? That's unbelievable.
I had a guy reach out the other day, asking the question about working with his wife.
Yeah.
And he said that they sort of get on each other's nerves a little bit.
Yeah.
And he said, how do you guys do it? And he said, like, he's just, you know, he's been doing it for, I think I've been doing it for 27 years.
Yeah.
7, 8 years. He's been doing it a similar amount of times. Like, dude, I don't know what to do. And I said to him, because he's working with his wife, like we're working together.
Yeah.
And I said, dude, you just got to find your groove. The stuff that you don't like, get rid of it. The stuff that you do like, forge forward with it.
Yeah.
And that's really a beautiful thing. And it sounds really like, of course, that's what you do. But to actually do it's very, very hard. So we did about when Lisa started, when we got into sales, part of that was the what we did wasn't highs and lows.
No, we just worked through like what were the things that I really didn't enjoy doing in life, and see if we could somehow outsource those so that I could start to do more of the things that I really did enjoy. That's kind of how it all started.
Yeah.
And
then we made lists.
Yeah, we just made lists. But the reality of it is,
I've still got the list.
Yeah. But the thing is, we actually do work really, really well together. We both seem to have the same vision. We certainly have the same passion for our business and for the industry. That is without a doubt. I know that I drive Mark crazy at times. I'll admit that. That's hard for me to do because I'm a Scorpio, but I know I do. But the thing is that I'm 2 years into sales. And so there are things that I don't know everything. And so I'll still drive Mark crazy. And I'm a now person. So it's like, I need to know now. Tell me now. So that part of it, I know really annoys Mark.
But
Mark's a little bit more laid back with things. Yeah. And he's getting more and more chilled as he gets older.
Lazy.
Hence why I reckon he's falling asleep when we have friends over. But that's okay. That's all right. I think he's just working really, really hard. But we both work the same level of craziness. And I think that's really, really important to note.
Oh, you know what I reckon a good tip
hang on, is? Can I just make mention, just one sec? I think it's important to mention that you've got to be at the same level of whatever it is that you do together. Yes. So let me give you an example. If one partner drinks nonstop and the other partner hates alcohol, likely you're going to have issues there. So, and it's the same thing with work. If you've got one partner that's working all the time and all they do is walk and talk and eat work, and then the other partner is not involved in the business at all, that can be tricky as well. So I think we're the same level of being involved and committed to the business, and we love it equally as much.
Yeah.
And that's the best way that I can describe it.
And I reckon that another thing with partners, and we're guys on the couch and it doesn't work, we actually motor into the day at the same time and motor out of the day same time. So what I mean by that is sometimes a guy will go to work at 3:30 a.m.
Yeah.
And then he'll come home at 12 in the afternoon, and they're sort of out of sync a little bit. But when we sort of both get out of bed together, go hard, and then we finish the day on the couch probably at the same time. Now, whether one person's doing dishes or the other person is at the office, it doesn't really matter. They're still just going hard, whatever that role is. So I think when you're taking out more than you're putting in, that's when you can screw a little bit. So we've always been pretty fair with that time.
And super respectful as well, like I think.
We do get asked a lot though, eh?
Yeah, we do get asked a lot, but we are very, very respectful of one another. And, if there's something, a decision that we need to make about work, I'll always take on board what Mark says and vice versa. And that's also super important as well. Look, it's not all a bed of roses. But I must say we never, most of the time it is. No, but, we never, ever argue over what, in fact, we don't argue at all, do we?
Nope. I don't want to admit it because it's bad, because we should.
Do we?
No.
We don't. No, you just give me the shit sometimes and vice versa. But we rarely argue, which is pretty phenomenal.
People really want to know about this though.
I don't know. But the other thing is that we live a really, really crazy life. So we went up to the mountains, as we mentioned earlier on, with some of our really, really close friends. And honestly, I reckon I spent the majority of the day just on the phone, answering inquiries and phone calls and negotiating deals. And, she was like, far out. Do you actually ever put that thing down and switch off? We don't. We really do try to.
But that's okay if you enjoy it. If you find the beauty in it. But if you don't find the beauty in it, you're really in it. You're screwed.
Yeah, 100%.
So I think the big thing is just make sure you're doing the parts of your job that you like, and then you're never actually working. Whereas I think if you're doing
I agree with that.
Fortunately, we could forge into areas that we enjoyed in our business by our choice. We weren't put into that corner. I think that makes a difference. So in any capacity of any role, I think people have just got to be making sure they do something they actually quite enjoy.
Yeah.
But we're signing off.
And the same, and just our work-life balance. That's another one that we get asked about. How do you find that work? We don't.
Such a thing.
No, but the thing is, we definitely do. We're actually quite structured. We're quite aware that our children do need to see us. So we have non-negotiable nights when we will sit down and have dinner with them. We do.
Prawn night.
Yeah, so we do have those. They're non-negotiable nights. It doesn't matter if the biggest deal is happening, or it doesn't matter what is happening. Nothing will get in the way of those times that we need to have with our family.
So we've sort of got a mother-in-law night once a week. We've got a prawn night once a week.
Yeah.
And then we normally
family night, Sunday, family day.
Sundays is generally not negotiable. We have to move as a unit together. We've got 2 girls.
Yeah. One's 22. She's usually hungover.
Yeah.
And then we've got the 14-year-old. She's still in a really nice little place.
Anyway.
We're hoping she stays that way. So that's us. That's our life, guys. That's it.
Just to answer any there, I'm not really keen on just talking about myself.
We rarely talk about our life.
Add a bit of value in industry expertise or feedback or we're getting.
But we do get asked a lot.
We do get asked a lot. So we attributed the second half of the segment to that.
Why not? And it is a long weekend. And I am sitting here in my Ugg boots and drinking hot chocolate.
And your new Ugg boots.
My new Ugg boots that I bought in the Blue Mountains. Here, do you guys want to see my
check this out?
Yeah. Show you, look at that. $55 from the Blue Mountains. They're the real deal Ugg. I tell you what, it was worth 6 hours to get them.
That's the one on the highway. It's about Katoomba. You go around, it's on that little corner. So
All right, that's it. So look, a bit of a relaxed one tonight. As I said, it's the end of a long weekend. Really, really, really busy week ahead this week. Looking forward to that. Looking forward to hopefully more restrictions being lifted. For those businesses that are just hanging out waiting for their doors to swing open. So hopefully that'll take place really, really soon. That's about it.
And let's all help each other. So support local business. If you don't have to use Deliveroo and you can go pick it up from the local place, that's an extra 35% in their pocket.
Yeah, I never knew that. They get hammered.
If you can buy it local instead of buying it from another country around the world, buy it local, even if it costs you a little bit more. I just think, I just think that consciousness is super important.
Yeah. All right, guys. On that note, we're out of here. See ya. Have a good week, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.